Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Wraith, I'm the Technical Officer for IPAF, and I'm going to quickly cover the developments in powered access industry. And in particular, I'm going to talk about three subjects: developments with the IPAF spreader plate calculator, cover anti-entrapment devices, and talk about the accident reporting procedure that IPAF have introduced. And before I go any further, although we see pictures like this on the press, MUPs are safe and stable. It is incorrect setup and misuse that causes instability. And research has shown that the causes of instability come from poor ground assessment, poor spreader plate selection, and the incorrect positioning of outriggers. And it's the last one there, the incorrect positioning of outriggers and the poor spreader plate selection, that we're going to look into with this ready reckoner that IPAF have developed. When to use spreader plates, if you look at the guidance that's out there, the American guidance or the Australian guidance, international guidance or British guidance, British standards, the guidance is a bit woolly really. It says when necessary, where necessary, as required or often required. So there is no specific guidance on when spreader plates should be used when machines have got outriggers. And it's a little known fact that 80% of the machine's gross weight can be sent down one wheel or one outrigger on a boom type MUP when the the boom rotates round. 80% of the weight can go down one outrigger or down one wheel. And that can result in consequences such as the one you see there on the picture of machines punching through manhole covers and then overturning. So this isn't an issue which is just solely down to machines with outriggers. It covers the whole of the industry. But IPAF have been running a campaign in the last year, 18 months, which talks about spread the load and trying to raise the awareness of using spreader plates under machines with jack legs or outriggers. And the campaign Spread the Load clearly states spreader plates should always be used with boom type MUPs when fully supported on their outriggers. And it goes on to say that consideration of spreader plates on all other types of MUP should be the subject of a risk assessment. But it's easy to have a statement like that, but it's more difficult to kind of put that into practice when you start thinking about the weight of the MUP, the vehicle mount, the actual forces that are transposed down one outrigger leg, the pressure exerted by the outrigger foot, and the load-bearing capacity of the ground. And all those different things, the weight, the force, and the pressure, are all used different units, and manufacturers don't use the same units consistently throughout the industry. So it's very difficult at times to calculate the size of spreader plate needed. And IPAF recognised this problem, and they developed something called the Spread the Load Spreader Plate Ready Reckoner. Obviously you can tell I'm from Yorkshire because the Ready Reckoner bit comes in from that. But what we've tried to do is, if you go to the website IPAF Spreaders, you can then find this device, and with one simple click it will tell you, offer you guidance on what type of spreader plates you should be using. If you click on the icon where it says click here, it will get a drop-down box and it will identify what size of vehicle you're using, whether it be a 3.5 ton, a 7 ton, or 18 ton, or even up to 32 tons. You make the selection, and in this case I've selected a 7.5 ton vehicle mount that I'm using, and it will then identify the jack leg forces that could be pushing down on one leg using the 80% principle. And it highlights there some of the units that the manufacturers are already using. KN is kilonewtons, DAN is decanewtons, you've got tons, you've got pounds force as well, and kilograms force. So if you can look in the manual and find which forces your operator is using, you can relate to those as well. You can then go a bit further down the spreader plate, the calculator, and click on the click here, and it will actually bring up a description of different grounds and the ground bearing pressures. This is a very difficult subject to approach, because if you talk about the ground bearing pressure of tarmac, it depends on the foundations, the thickness of the medium that's on the ground, what's underneath it, whether the ground is wet or dry. So you can see from the tables there are some description of ground conditions taken from European standards, and they are all over a range. So you can select the correct range of the medium you are about to set your machine upon, and then follow the colour coding through, whether it be for the green, the very good pressure, the medium, or the low load-bearing pressures. So he then identifies what size spreader plate you should be using, whether it be round or whether it be rectangular. So this is just one simple tool which is trying to address a complicated subject. There is supporting evidence and guidance on the IPAF website to explain what you should be looking for when using vehicles with spreaders and the kind of ground conditions you should be looking for. It doesn't negate some site obligations of the operator and site management, but it is a simple and interactive tool which requires the minimum of input, and it is easily accessible because it is on the IPAF website, and it is soon to become an app. What I will say, it is something that is out there to start with. It will develop as we go along, but it is a step in the right direction to help and support people using spreader plate, using machines with jack legs to identify what spreader plates they should be using. Secondly, I want to talk about the developments in anti-entrapment devices to prevent or mitigate this type of circumstance which you're seeing there. And as hopefully you are all aware, that since 2010 there has been some best practice guidance on the avoidance of trapping and crushing injuries of people in the platform. And that is still an excellent document which was recently reviewed internally within IPAF and is found to be current. And the message there is a task for management, correct management and planning, and there is also a need for the correct operation by the users and those supervising the use of mutes. So that's why the document there is in two phases, two sections, and I recommend you go to it. What it also identifies is that it can't be sorted out, the issue of entrapment and preventing entrapment can't be sorted out by just one particular issue. It needs an improved operator competency and training and influencing behaviours. There is a need to improve the management of mutes on site and improve the ground conditions they work on, clarify suppliers' roles and responsibilities, and a continuing mute design initiatives and improvements. And it's that continuing mute initiatives and designs and improvements I want to tell you today that IPAF will be launching next month some guidance which actually shows you the different design concepts, and if you identify you are going to be using a piece of powered access equipment in a confined area, these are the concepts that you can be looking for to actually mitigate the risk and make the job hopefully safer. This document with some guidance, as I say, will be coming out next June, this next month. In reality, those concepts are shown with devices like these, and these are actually devices which are currently on the market. Two of them, the top left and the bottom middle, have been designed by rental companies, and the one on the top right there has been designed by a manufacturer. They are currently out there and available. There are also two manufacturers which have developed prototypes and have launched those prototypes at a recent trade exhibition in Paris, Intermat. But those two prototypes still aren't on the market and available as yet. They're still prototypes. What I will say is there is no one device which will prevent all entrapment incidents, and if you are looking to identify some device to put on a machine to help reduce the risk of entrapment, selecting a device may introduce other hazards that need serious consideration as well. So it isn't just as simple as saying we'll have that one. It is the need for a detailed risk assessment and identifying the benefits and the disadvantages of the different systems. So that is a bit of, I want to touch on there about anti-entrapment. The third and final development I want to talk about is, I believe, IPAF's major piece of work, and it is actually an incident reporting system which has been designed and developed to help report incidents and accidents involving mobile elevated work platforms. Most contractors, rental companies, most companies out there do record accidents involving powered access, but they all record it in their own separate ways, and they are very reluctant to share that information. And so what happens is people go off and do little bits of something here and little bits of something there, but there's no joined up thinking. The idea of setting up this IPAF accident reporting system on the IPAF website is so anybody and everybody who is involved with powered access can report an accident. And firstly, you need to go on and log on, and once you've logged on and shared your details, you'll get a username and a password. And once you've logged on, you can then access the reporting system. The system is confidential, so any information you put on there will not be shared with anybody else. It will only be used for the benefit of improving safety and safe use of powered access within the industry. And people say, well, why do we want to record it? Well, my argument is, if we don't record what's happening with these machines, if we don't manage it, if we don't measure it, we can't manage it. So this is a first step in managing the safe use of powered access. The data it requests is fairly simple data, but is uniform data, and it is data that, if we start recording the same uniform things, we can start to analyse it. So it is asking for very simple things, and I could go through these individually here, but what I will say is go to the website, register as an individual or as a company, and have a look at the questions it is asking. They are fairly simple, fairly basic, straightforward, and they're, as I said, they're already confidential. The advantage of recording your accidents on the IPAF website is that you can then go and look at all the individual accidents that you have recorded as a company or as an individual, and you can even export those accidents and use them to create your own reporting system. IPAF is also intending to make it available that when companies do register and do report their powered access incidents through this system, there will be a dashboard comes up, and it will help people manage their incidents and their reporting systems. So it is going to be of a benefit to people to report their accidents through here, because it will take all the hassle out of doing your accident reporting in management, and it will produce the reports for you. What I will say is, from the first 3 months of this system, I will give you some global reports that in January there were 2 fatalities using powered access machines, February 2, and there were 3 in March. This is worldwide data. Of those, 2 were involved scissors, 1 involved a boom, 3 involved vehicle mounts, and 1 was an unknown, because we were still looking into the report as to what type of machine it was, but it is suspected it was another 3B, another boom. And the fatalities were caused 2 by electrocution, 3 by overturns, and 2 of a technical nature. I will also say, of the accidents that were reported, of the 7 accidents, 1 took place in Australia, and the 6 others that we know of took place in the United States of America. What I will also say about accident analysis is, when my previous role was a safety officer for a large company, I was involved in 3 fatalities, and I analysed the data from those 3 fatalities, and I identified they were from 3 separate MUPs. So it wasn't just one manufacturer's issue, it was an issue across all manufacturers. They also involved 3 different industries. There was refrigeration industry, there was the construction industry, and there was the sign industry. And there are 3 different professions within those 3 industries. And unfortunately, the 3 people who lost their lives were 3 trained, experienced and competent operators. That was basically one of the only common things I could find with all 3 of these people. They were trained, their employers said they were the most experienced and competent operators they had, and they were the least likely to have the accidents. 1 was knocked out of the boom by a bus and then fell underneath the bus and was run over. The other was trapped between a control panel and a steel beam, and the other, for some unknown reason, fell from the boom. Looking further into the detail of these 3, the one thing I did find that was common to all 3 is they were all being rushed. They all had time constraints. The gentleman who fell out of the boom and were knocked over by the bus, he was rushing to get a job done on a busy road early morning to try and beat the traffic. The second guy, who was trapped between the canopy and a steel beam, he was actually trying to rush and finish a job so he could get back to watch England play a football match, and England were kicking off at dinner time. And the third guy who fell from the platform, he was rushing to get the job done because the machine had been broken down and he had to do 2 days work in one. So from analysing accidents we can start to look and we can start to draw on the data, but only if we have that data in the first place by people using the accident reporting system we'll be able to start to analyse it and make some conclusions and help develop the safe use of powered access further. What I will say, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. It is that fatalities, the accidents that happen here, all have consequences. And you heard Jason talking earlier in the day. And I would just urge you all to report your accidents and leave you with this one final thought. Please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world. Lay the puzzle pieces out, find out what it's all about. Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. With our hands and with our hearts, we can dare to make a start. Together we can change the world. What if we spoke with one voice, knowing that we have a choice? Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world.
Thank you for listening.